and welcome to another Cliff's List interview. And today, my special guest is Jared Psych Laurence, who has been around the community for quite a while and has had tremendous success teaching guys to be more successful with women. And Jared, for people who aren't familiar with you, perhaps you can give us a little introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely. So first off, thanks for having me here. I actually, when I first learned about this crazy world, your interviews were one of the key things I listened to back when I knew nothing. So this is kind of like an honor, just being on here myself. Since then, I got into this in 2006. I have the reason I called Jared Psych is because I have 7 years of formal psychological training. I have, as far as I know, I'm responsible for over 40 marriages, prevented 17 suicides, created 5 babies, not mine, students, students of mine, and yeah, I've been featured on ABC, A&E, Oxygen Network, MTV, and worked with everyone under the sun pretty much. So I've kind of seen it all and been coaching for nearly the last almost 15 years now. So been a long time.
Well, that is quite a while. The time just goes by, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It feels like yesterday where I was like the new kid on the block and listening to, you and all the other guys. And now everyone I talk to, it's like, oh, you've been in this forever. You're one of the old timers. I'm like, Jesus Christ. When did that happen?
Well, as we were talking a little bit before this recording started, I guess the way men are being brought around to better knowledge is changed quite a bit since the early days
Yes.
of the community. And maybe you can go over sort of maybe how you've changed and how maybe what you advise guys has changed. And to tell us a little bit about where you were and where you are today.
Sure thing. I mean, well, my metamorphosis went from being a complete guy who knew nothing about women. It's very, an age-old tale of the complete nerd, complete guy who was just awful. My prom date slept with another guy in the bathroom on my prom. My girlfriend, who I was saving for marriage, she broke it off with me and started dating another guy and gave it up to him, originally up to him after 2 months of dating him. Like, so I just have every very sad story for those who want to learn more. I mean, I tell all my stories on YouTube. You just do Jared Psych Laurence 21 Convention, and I've talked on there and shared those my heartbreaking stories. But since then, I got into what that at that point back in 2006, what I call the community. Now I don't call it the community, I call it the industry, because it fundamentally has shifted and changed. But when I joined the community, I learned about real, tactical type stuff. I used my psychology training. I listened to the advice by, the greats that were out there at the time. And I built up my skill set when it came to cold approach. Then around 2009, I was able to find my mentor, and he showed me another way and helped me grow. And what I started developing around that time, which was never been done before, was the idea of building social circles. Now, back then, when people talked about uh, online game or building up social circles, we were usually laughed at. It was thought of, that's not code approach, so that's bullshit. You're going out and you're actively befriending women. What's wrong with you, right? But what I realized at the time, and what I've proven very truthful to me, is cold approach at its core is basically door-to-door sales, right? With Social Circle, I'm building up a lifestyle of constant stream of new women around me and their friends, and that's more like a ClickFunnels, right? And it's just like, but instead of like passive income where money's coming to you without any worry, with Social Circle and that ClickFunnels, you have passive pussy. It's just women coming into your life. Like, I could never do a cold approach for the rest of my life, and I could still get a new girl every week if I wanted to. It's becomes fundamentally easier. Now, granted, it takes some time to create it. You have to put in the work initially, but then you could sit back and relax. Honestly, like, you become lazy about it if you want.
Tell us a little bit more about I guess the nuances of having success through a social circle, because I'm sure there's plenty of guys that just make friends with women and just stay friends with women. They don't advance that to anything more intimate.
Absolutely. And here's and don't get me wrong. I think the way I learned it was a good way. I teach it to my guys too. You have to learn the skills of cold approach. That cold approach will teach you to benefit from social circle. Because otherwise, if you just try to go social circle by itself and you're still timid and shy and awkward and whatever, then one, you're not going to have a really great circle, and you're not going to know what to do with a girl when you meet her in your circle, right? So through cold approach, you can learn things like how to keep a good conversation going, how to have witty banter and be playful, how to flirt, how to sexually escalate, how to make a connection, how to win over friends, and like you learn a lot of valuable skill sets. So for that, cold approach is amazing. And the beautiful thing about cold approach is you can just hit reset. If you messed up with this girl, you never see her again. Start with another one. Soul circle, if you mess up, you're seeing that girl again. So that's not a great time to be learning how to do the fundamentals in practice. That's a time to be capitalizing on the skills you ideally have already developed, right? But let me ask you, let me put it this way. With so the approach I have is called SIA, SIA. It's the social influence approach, and it's done through building your social influence is your social circle. And if I go and I quote approach a girl, right, with the traditional way, let's say it turns out the girl has a boyfriend. Well, I'm just screwed, aren't I? Like that's it. Unless you want to go into like boyfriend destroyers or go into something unethical, right? But let's just say I'm a good guy and I'm not going to try to ruin a relationship. I meet a girl and she has a boyfriend, then I'm screwed. I have to move on and go, nice meeting you, okay? Versus, which, and this actually recently just happened, is I was out at a restaurant and I ended up picking up the waitress there, right? Turns out a gorgeous girl, the sports bar. Turns out she has a boyfriend. So what I do is I know I have an event coming up later in the week, and what I do is I just invite a ton of different girls out to my event. And because I'm inviting all these girls out, I usually have a promoter friend with a promoter's table or something at the club, and because I'm bringing all these girls out, he'll just give it to me for free. So here's a free table, free alcohol, whatever, right? So I find that this girl has a boyfriend, and I say, okay, that's cool. Your boyfriend, and all your girlfriends should come to this event I'm having later in the week. Now, what happens is she comes to my pre-party. Yeah, she brings a boyfriend, that's fine. She also brings 5 girlfriends of hers. So now she's introduced that through her, I'm being introduced to 5 brand new girls, all equally as attractive. Uh, Attractive women tend to hang out with other attractive women. So now what most guys would have thrown away and just had nothing to do with her, I've capitalized on it, made a female friend or a wing girl or whatever you want to call it. And now she's introducing to me all her friends to this event. My promoter friend also loves me because I'm bringing 6 girls and 1 guy, not to mention the other girls I brought. So he's like, you're amazing. Please, yeah, come to my event. Here's free table, free alcohol, whatever the case, right? So just that alone is should be enough to show you why social circle and doing the SIA, so the social influence approach, is so much more effective than just constantly trying to hook up with every single girl you meet. But we take it a step further, and you realize 90% of relationships that start before the age of 30 fail. They do not work. So understanding that, you also notice that really, really attractive women always are in relationships. They always have a boyfriend, don't they? Right? Very, very rare you find beautiful single women. They always have some guy because they always have the options. So now what you realize is you're going to meet these gorgeous women. They're going to have boyfriends. That's fine. You befriend them and you become what I call a flirty friend. So it's yes, you're friends, but you're always flirting. There's always a attraction under the surface. You're always kind of messing around. We're just friends, but wink, wink. It's just that the inappropriate friend, the flirty friend, whatever you want to call it, right? There's always that underlying level of you and her know there's something going on there, okay? Now, what happens is, remember, 90% of relationships before the age of 30 end. So that means a 90% chance that this girl that I'm friends with the boyfriend, they're probably going to break up. And when that happens, I'm already built attraction. I've been there. She's been to my event. She's seen me pre-selected. I don't have to be some random guy trying to convince her to like me right then and there. I'm in her life. Really, really attractive women usually only end up hooking up and being with guys within their social circle. It's not really through cold approach, not typically. Not to, I think I just cut out. There we go, back. Not saying you can't do it. It's just that this is by far what I found a much, much more effective method.
How do you get your clients to create the social circle when they don't have one? Because
So, yeah,
that's a very good starting place.
fair. That's a great question. So the first thing I do is get good with the code approach, get those skills. Once you have the skill set, you're going to realize you're a cool, socially adjusted, great guy, right? Now, when you're going out and you're meeting these people, uh, every single person you're quickly classifying as either a social connector or a value connector. The best a social connector is essentially someone who knows a lot of people, and a value connector is essentially somebody who has access to some kind of valuable trait socially. So if I meet a girl who's in a sorority, let's say, right? So let's say I'm out doing a code approach and I meet a girl. This actually happened with me in Florida. I met this girl, Anna. I met Anna, let's see, through a code approach. Turns out she's in a sorority. Now I could do what most guys do and just go, ooh, sorority girl, hot, and try to pick up Anna, right? But I told myself, no, she's in a sorority. This is a social connector. I am going to become her new best friend. I don't want anything from her. Not gonna try to hook up with her. Not gonna, do anything. I'm just gonna become her new best friend and throw value at her. And I did. And what happens is she's always over at my place, my apartment. She's always chilling. And like a revolving door, she's always bringing one girl after the next from her sorority. So by fighting these social connectors, you then start meeting more and more people. And a value connector would basically be like a guy with a boat, right? You're out, you maybe meet some social connectors. The guy's like, hey man, how do you know these girls? I got a boat here. If you ever want to throw a party, yes I do. I'll bring 15 girls. You have the boat. Let's put this together, right? So essentially, what you want to do when you first start is as you go out, you're looking for these social connectors. A great one in the party scene is just promoters. We all know that's their whole job is to meet tons of people, primarily girls, and bring them to a club. So what I'll do is I will go to a promoter and be like, hey, if I bring 10 girls out, 15 girls out, can you hook something up? And he's like, hell yeah, bring it to my table. You can come by and that'd be great. So now I'll use my cold approach skills to just go on the street and meet 10, 15 girls. If you don't know any girls, you can use cold approach to meet them. Then all you need is like, three. If each three brings 4 or 5 friends, it's about 10, 15 girls. You bring them to the promoter, here are my female friends. All of a sudden, that promoter's your new best friend. He loves you. Now you are friends with the social connector. He starts introducing you to everybody. I started doing the social circle stuff here in San Diego within 2 years, and I basically have a residential table any night I go out. Friday Omnia, Saturday Park, Sunday is Firehouse. Like every time I do boot camps or I do any kind of personal training, as I go around, literally I will constantly be running into people I know just from the nightlife scene. Let alone, and I call them those my party friends. And then there's social circle, which are my lunch friends and friends you would invite out just to lunch and hang out with, where we go and we do game nights and we just fuck around and we'll go watch movies and stuff. So to me, some people are in both categories. Some people want to be with other, but you can have whatever social circle and really lifestyle that you want for yourself. It doesn't have to just be the party scene. I like the club scene and party scene just because that's where I learned it and I got really good at it. But I've had guys used SIA, the social influence approach, and create a lifestyle where they just do brunch on Sundays. They get 15 girls around them doing brunch. People do beach events. I've seen people use the same methodology for any area of their life that they like, and especially for my older guys who don't want to be creepy old cold approach dude anymore. This is the next level. This is the next step where they can have an active social life.
Well, what I guess I'd like to find out is how do you help guys, I guess, take it from friends to more than friends? I guess that's one thing that it's that I kind of I know that I hear that a lot from the people reading my list, that they want to change their status.
So So there's 5 vibes that I will walk a girl through. There's comfort, playful, flirty, connecting, and sexual. So even if we start off at comfort, that's fine. Friendly, comfortable, platonic. Then it goes to playful, still indirect. We're still just joking around being playful. But then to the third vibe, we get to flirty. At flirty, flirty is playful, but now there's always either a sexual or a dating undertone or sexual or dating connotation. That's where interest gets ambiguous. From there, we then make it connecting. Connecting, I'm showing her overt interest. And then sexual, obviously, I build up sexual tension. But I know, and I keep playing with these 5 vibes, and I show my guys exactly how to move through them. I do group coaching calls with my guys. I have online modules that my guys go through that shows each one, that shows each step. I do retreats with my guys. I just did an amazing immersion with Robbie here. Next one's gonna be in Ukraine. So I make it almost impossible for them to fail, just because I've given them every single resource. Every one of my students has direct access to me. So when they're like, I'm freaking out, I don't know what to do, they can message me directly and I will give them advice right there on the spot. And I meet up with them twice a week to go over all this stuff. So all of my students constantly are being bombarded with ways of doing exactly what you said. How do I move this and become romantically involved, build the attraction? And I also have tribe leaders who do accountability calls for my guys, keep them accountable. But to answer your question, the main thing I would think with your viewers is it's a lot easier to get things started the right way than it is to fix things. And I'm sure you've heard this before, even with the cold approach idea, it's much easier just to start a new one than to fix what you already have, right? So to break out of a friend zone, if a girl puts you, put it this way, if a girl puts you in her friend zone, that's bad. That's tough and that's problematic. There are ways to break out of it, and I can go into that and talk to your guys about how to break out of the friend zone. But really, when we talk about the friend zone, we mean the platonic zone. I want to make a difference in people's minds right now. Listen to this: that friend doesn't necessarily have to mean platonic. Friends fuck. Friends sleep together. Friends hook up together. If you don't believe me, watch this show, Friends. Okay, they all end up hooking up together, right? So really, when we say friend zone, we mean platonic zone. I am platonic with this woman. How do I get her to see me in a non-platonic way? Just because I'm friends with a girl doesn't mean she's not attracted to me. It just means that hell, we have a term for it. We call it friends with benefits, right? Girls sleep with their friends, and now it's just friends with benefits. So really, the question is, how do we avoid being platonic? And when you start a friendship with the girl, show her constantly, subtle but constant, that you are not platonic, that you are going to flirt with her, you are going to make sexual and dating innuendos, you are going to, compliment and build up sexual tension, and you're not just this passive, shy, very platonic, overeager, please, big pleaser guy yourself. So I think understanding the definitional terms and really getting to the point of what we're talking about matters, because I call it the flirty friend is very different than the platonic friend.
Well, given that, let's go into a different thing. How about I guess sticking points and hurdles that different guys have. For example, you're going to run into guys who have confidence issues, who have issues with
Sure.
their looks, with their height, with their weight,
Yeah.
with their age. Maybe you can go through a bunch of those and sort of how do you deal with them, if you deal with them differently, or you have sort of one cure-all.
My cure-all is fuck your excuses.
Okay.
That's honestly seriously. That's my cure-all. Like I've helped Asian guys. I've helped fat. I'm a bigger Buddha belly guy. I've felt I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not wide. I'm not tall enough. I'm too tall. Everybody's got something, and there's only 2 things to do with whatever your excuse is. Number 1 is fix it. If you feel you're too fat, stop eating. Make yourself realize you're going to do everything you can with the parameters that are set for you. So if you truly think you're too fat, fix it. The only reason I haven't lost a belly is because I've proven time and time again that I can have this belly and I can still get women attracted. It's not hindering me enough. I almost wish it did. Honestly, I almost wish that I needed to have a flat stomach or whatever to get women, because if I did, I would have lost the stomach already. But because it's not that big of a deal, and I mean, don't get me wrong, looks matter. Looks, it helps, but I'll pick game over looks any day of the week. Like it's an absolute no brainer for me, right? So if and as far as height goes, go to donshoes.com or elevator shoes or whatever. Gives you 3-4 inches of height right there. You can, and it does. It makes if you feel more confident, it gives you a little bit of better effect. It's not the end all be all. It's not like, I go from 5'10" to 6'2", and then all of a sudden every girl wants me. It's just one factor that helps a bit, right? It's every little factor adds up. But really what's going on is everybody wants this comfort blanket of their excuse. They want this reason of, well, it's not my fault. The world's out to get me, right? It's I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too not white, I can't grow a beard, I can't. I've heard so many stupid shit. Every guy, when they learn this well, can get incredible results with the kind of women that they want. Now, are some parameters limited? Yes. Have most guys even come close to reaching their potential within the parameters? Not at all. Not even close. And they stay limited minded. So if it is a parameter that you can fix, aka, oh, I'm too fat, lose the fucking weight then, if that's really what it is. Or realize it's not that big of a deal, that you can still talk to women with a belly and get amazing results. I'm living proof of this. Okay. If it's a parameter such as, oh, well, I'm not white, I work with a lot of guys who are like, I'm Indian or I'm Asian. Forget it. It does, like, you're not going to change that. So suck it up and realize that's your parameter. See what is your full potential within that parameter of being Asian or being Indian or whatever the case may be, or not being 6'5". You haven't come close to scratching the surface of what you're capable of, and you're shooting yourself in the foot before you even get started. It's just bad inner thoughts, bad inner game. It has nothing to do with anything that's really tactical. It's more the idea of almost this comfort of, it's outside of my control, therefore I can't even begin to take action. I would say fuck your excuses.
You made a remark before about how you take game over looks any day. Yes. I keep hearing from so many guys about how they feel that looks are so critical, and that they would definitely take looks over game. Maybe you can go into some of your experiences with that and some of your thoughts.
Absolutely. Looks will help you with three things. Looks is going to make girls more likely to pay attention to you on the approach. It allows you to mess up more. And when a girl's finally in bed with you, she's going to be more turned on, and so make her more likely to want to sleep with you when she's in bed, which sounds like the whole gambit, but it's not. Because if you don't really have game, or what I call just social influence, you're going to be a shy guy who doesn't even do the approach. Let's say you do the approach and you can't make a conversation, you don't know how to banter, you don't know how to do anything. Yeah, you're pretty to look at, but you're going to make these mistakes. You can make a little bit more of them because you're more attractive, but you're going to make the mistakes. Meanwhile, another guy who's not as attractive physically knows exactly what to do. It's tried and true, and he works, and he can, work it. He can see things on a higher level. Put it this way: if I was just getting by my looks, I never would have realized all these concepts that come from building up a social circle. I never would have made the lifestyle that I've developed for myself has almost nothing to do with looks. Zero. The free tables, the boats, the mega models. I'm moving to Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to be hanging out with I'm friends and so circled with the owner of Bang Energy Drinks. I'm going to be hanging out with Bang Energy models. You think that has anything to do with my looks? Like, come on. I mean, it's the other thing is I challenged myself. When I was getting really good at cold approach, I surrounded myself with really, really good looking guys or naturals or anybody I could find. And I went out with an Abercrombie model, literally 6-pack, buff, was a model for Abercrombie, who I would go out with him. And yeah, he would get the initial attention. Don't get me wrong. Looks will get you the initial attention. And typically, if most good-looking guys tend to have, women paying them attention, they get better self-confidence, which makes them more likely to be naturals and have some game, right? But at the end of it, he was asking me to teach him how to get girls. This is Abercrombie model. So you're asking me what my experience about looks versus game. It's to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. With that said, I'm not going to say some guys take it to an extreme where they say, "Oh, looks don't matter at all. At all. You can look like anything." And no, obviously you need to groom. It does help to have muscles. It does help to be in shape. It does help to be taller. I'm sorry, it helps to be white. It helps to, all these things. They are factors, but they are not the end all be all. And that's the key message I want people to realize is it's okay. It's like you never hear guys being like, "Well, I don't have a Lamborghini, therefore I can't talk to a girl." Like that, it would help. Have a nice mansion, have a Lamborghini. I'm sure it would help, right? But by no means are we thinking, well, without that, there's no way a pretty girl would talk to me. That's what it's like. It's just another factor that helps.
What I gather, when these people have their excuses, guys have their excuses, and you're encouraging them to just, accept it and just move on. Don't waste your time with that. But
Either fix it if you can, or forget about it and focus on the things that are within their control and that they
right,
can do and better themselves.
all right. Yeah, no, there's definitely certain, I guess, hurdles that maybe you have some specific ways of dealing with. For example, guys who are too old, or feel that they're too old. And again, you brought up, different race, basically, that
Sure.
they're they feel very awkward about it.
Everything's perception, right? So I'm sure you know Eric Hypnotica, uh,
Sure.
good friend of mine out here in San Diego, and I talk with him all the time, and we do events together. He's a classic example of a guy who's too old, isn't he? Right? I mean, he's talking to these 20-year-old, something-year-old girls. He's in his 50s or 48 or close to 50, whatever, right? And he gets it all the time now. You're too old. You're too old. It's like, and his response to something is like, please, you're level 22. I'm level 48. What the hell mean too older? I'm level 52, whatever, however old he is, right? Um, the mindset difference, it's a perspective. You're not too old. They're too young. It's all perception, right? Now, some girls, granted, some girls are going to be in this the first category where it's like, no, you just are too old for them. For whatever reason, they have a hard line in the sand. They go, I cannot date a guy above this age. Other girls literally will love it. They're into that. It's like a taboo. It's a fantasy. It's amazing. They want the daddy or whatever, right? And then other girls are just like, it's just the vast majority, like 80%. So we got 10% in the first category, 10% in the second, and then the rest of the 80%, it's all perspective. Now, granted, maybe initially they feels too old for them initially, right? And the older you get, the more probably that feeling is going to come up. But it's a factor. It is not the end all be all. It's not a line in the sand that goes, well, that's it. The idea is to reframe that objection of I'm too old and realize not too old. Old means experience. Old means mature. Old means has his life together. Old means can have a lifestyle, probably has more money and has a lifestyle. Old means knows what he's doing in the bedroom. I mean, old, you know, old does not have to be a bad thing necessarily. It's all a matter of your perception of it, right? And being able to change a girl's perception of it. With that being said, though, it's up to the guy of how does he perceive it. If he's upset about it, if he finds it to be this awful thing, it's going to be this awful thing that's going to rub off on the girl. She's going to get that sense from him as well. But for the guys who are all hung up on this, I would say realize it's a factor. At worst, try to minimize how much this factor limits you, and maybe focus on all the other amazing things you have going for yourself that women will respond to.
Why don't we talk about, you talked about how getting the skills for cold approach are kind of critical, even just for social circle. Obviously, the more you can approach and talk to a woman in a relaxed, confident manner, that's going to make a big difference. How do you coach guys along in that? From coming to you where they are completely uncomfortable, and you bring them along. Is it just a matter wash, rinse, repeat, and then sooner or later they get it, or do you have some shortcuts to get comfortable, easier, faster?
So I really go break the learning process is probably my favorite part of this because it's a big reason of why I got good at this while so many guys don't. The sad thing is most guys try to do this on their own, and I'd say like 97% of them fail. I think like 3% of guys actually really get really good results with this, which is now don't get me wrong, everybody gets initially a little bit better, but the guys who make it to the top, they're really, really good. We're talking about like 3% from what I've seen. And anybody listening to this, watching this, I'm sure you've seen it too. If you've been around for this longer than a year, most guys just struggle on their own. And I always wondered, why did I get good when other people didn't? And my book, Psychology of Modern Flirting, I really break down that learning process and what entails. And what I boil it down to is three things. Number one is practice. You have to go out and apply this. You can't meditate this shit. You can't manifest it. You can't just think your way to being better with women. You actually have to, you have to take action. You have to practice it. The biggest lie, though, within this industry is that, oh, just keep going out and this stuff is going to it'll autocorrect. It'll just autocorrect. To me, that is a blatant lie. Okay. You need the second factor, which is experimentation. You have to be tweaking. It's science. Experiment, look at the data, analyze the data. What are the new conclusions? You can't just keep doing this stuff over and over again. You have to understand why. Why is this happening? What does the data tell me? What can I tweak and change and experiment with? And the third thing is you need a mentor. I don't know any single person in this industry who's really, really good who didn't have a mentor, didn't have somebody hold them by the hand and show them like this is the right way. Even Olympic athletes, the best people in the world have a coach, right? So if you don't have someone who's showing you how to do it, you're just going to be lost constantly, right? So I break down my entire attraction ladder, 15 steps from starting an interaction to releasing pressure, whether it's sex or a relationship. And throughout every single step, I show how these three factors, practicing, practicing, having a mentor, and experimenting, factor into the learning process. But yeah, it really comes down to there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And if you're doing it the wrong way, then nothing's going to happen. Does it make sense?
Tell us a little bit about the right way.
So the right way is immersion, being obsessed with this, realizing that you need to really dedicate a big, a chunk of your life to it. But the cool thing about here's a cool thing. Through three key things we all want, most men want, we can agree with: health, wealth, relationships, right? Health, if you diet and go hard and you get a six pack, you can get fat again. You start eating wrong, you get fat again. You start, wealth could be, you start a business, you get really successful with a business, you make some bad business decisions, you make some bad investments, you're broke. You can go from a millionaire to broke. At one point, I think even the president, Trump, was like bankrupt when broke at one point, right? But the third, relationships, when you learn this correctly and get this area down, then you're good for the rest of your life. Give me one. I'm just gonna put on some light real quick. I notice. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But yeah, you can be good at this for the rest of your life. So the right way is quickly, finding a good mentor, finding somebody who can help you out, who cares about you, looks out for you. Not a coach. I hate the idea of a coach. A coach is just someone who just yells at you and do this and get on my face. A mentor is someone who emotionally invests in you. And I always strive to be a mentor, not a coach. But find a good mentor, somebody who can show you the kind of lifestyle that you want to have. Come up with a process that you're constantly refining. You're constantly going, does this work? Let's see. Don't let me not just trust things blindly. Let me actually go out, test it, try it out, and then see for myself what works and what doesn't. And act, constantly taking action and implementing these things, not just wishing it to be true. One of the things I hate is that product, The Secret, because unfortunately, what I think it did is it just made a lot of people just wish and be like, I'm going to manifest and things are going to happen because I meditated on it. I'm just like, that's not a thing.
Okay. Let's shift gears again. What about maybe tell us a little bit about if you're, I don't know if you're involved at all with coaching guys or about online dating, or if you have some ideas or tips about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at online dating as another form of marketing, right? So when you go out, when you're doing anything to meet women, all of that is marketing. So you could do that through cold approach, you could do that through Soul Circle, you could do that through online. Online is just another way of being exposed to more women. And online's cool. Online's you could be staying in your living room, and maybe it's a Tuesday night. You can't actually go out tonight and find women. So screw it, you go on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. There's a million of it, right? It's just marketing. But once they're exposed to you, you have to know how to sell yourself, and that is game. That's social influence. How do I sell myself in the best way possible?
So give us a few tips for online game.
Okay, so for online, I would think the bio and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't really matter. Obviously, the pictures matter more than anything, and it's not just your looks. Obviously look as good as possible, but it's a picture says 1,000 words. So something some guys like to do is they like to do get a bunch of professional looking photos, and I'm actually a very very famous pickup coach, old school guy, showed me his, and I had to make all the corrections, and he made this mistake where he got a lot of professional looking photos of himself, and that doesn't work. Your first picture, you can do that. You can have the first picture should be very attractive. It should be very sexy. You looking your best, and if that could be a professionally taken photo, right? But the other ones all should say something about you. So maybe there's one with you and a baby, or you and a dog, that shows your cuddly, caring side. Maybe there's one with you surrounded by a bunch of people, having fun. That's your social proof. Another photo of you traveling or doing something very interesting. Traveling is kind of honestly overdone, but maybe like skydiving or something that's like fun and outgoing, right? You basically kind of want to hit different factors. Every single photo should be, here's another key factor that would attract a girl, that markets yourself in an ideal way. And you don't want it to be professional. You want it to make it look like you're just out in real life, camera phones, taking pictures, or your friends taking pictures of you. A lot of time your main photo should be from the chest up, and you shouldn't be looking directly at the camera. You should be like looking like kind of away off to the side. A lot of studies have shown like that is the ideal first image. So I mean, I can talk all day about like just the imagery and all that kind of stuff, and the bios, like that 80% of it is like the pictures, 20% is your bio, and that should just get to like key points of what a girl wants to hear, whether it's the height thing, unfortunately, is a big one with online. But I don't treat it like a serious thing unless you're trying to go over like eHarmony or Match.com. But the mainstream ones like Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, you want it to be just funny. You're literally just going for humor value and silliness. Most girls don't even really read it or take it seriously. But if they do read it, they just want to chuckle. They don't want to be. It's not meant to be a serious like, here's what I'm looking for.
I think a lot of guys have problems getting women to actually meet them from these online encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got some ideas about how to improve somebody's success and actually getting the woman to come and meet you in person?
I mean, I'd have to look at the case. Unfortunately, this is more like I have to get surgical and go into it and see like, well, what is this guy doing wrong, right? There's no one size fits all approach, at least not in my mind. Every single one of my guys, I go over their message. I have a whole thread in my group on their online presence, social media, online dating, and they post pictures of their snapshots, and I can look at it and go, okay, this is what's going on. Some guys are too pushy, they're too sexual up front. Other guys, they milk it for too long. They just keep doing message after message after message after message. But finally, they'll kind of like lose interest when they go for it. They're not down, right? Uh, Sometimes guys might try to go for a date on a low point, on a lull in interaction. When you want any kind of compliance or investment, you want to do it at a high point. I'd love to be like, here's your easy routine or a quick way to ensure that you get a girl on a date every time, but it really does depend on what the guy is struggling with, what his problem point is. But the good news is we have a whole support system just for that alone. So, the guys are exchanging advice with each other. I try to take it away from the whole industry, the way this world is now. And I try to bring it back to the old school as a community where we all give advice freely. We all look at each other. I'm constantly, in there and helping my guys out as well. Because that's the way I learned. I think it's only a real way for people to learn again.
Okay. Well, maybe you can give us a little bit more about, tell us a little bit more about your, what you offer for someone who wants to learn from you. Tell them a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I do is my job as your mentor is I want to give you every single resource you need in order to succeed at this. So what I do for my program is I have my Slack group, which is just its own little community. I'm active on there every day, answering questions, handling negative reframes. You also get put into a tribe for accountability. A tribe is a smaller group within my group. Every single week, you get a call from your tribe leader just for accountability. Also, every week, you get 2 group calls from me. Each one's about 2 hours long. One call, I break down the micro stuff that people are doing right or wrong. I go over people's interactions. The other one, I might lecture. I might have a guest coach on. Cliff, you're more than welcome to pop on one of these weeks if you like. But I kind of I either lecture to them or go over more of the macro stuff. And then on top of that, I release online modules. So every single week, you get a module released to you on a new concept. And each module not only has my entire breakdown of that topic, but practical application, like assignments to do to get better at that topic. And if that's not enough, every quarter year, every 3 months or so, I host a retreat. And everybody in my program, it's part of it. You come out and you come to the retreat and you get to meet me in person. And if you can't meet me in person, it's too far for you, can't fly out, no worries. I live stream the whole thing. And if that's not enough, remember what I said about mentor and coach. I want to ensure every single person in my program knows that they're being looked after, that at the end of the day, if the group calls aren't enough, if the retreats aren't enough, if the modules aren't enough, the accountability, the group chat, everything is not enough, anyone can book a one-on-one call with me. I call a 911 emergency call. They book the call, and I'll talk to them straight up and help them overcome whatever their problem is currently. And that's not even going into the additional services, whether it's drill girls or other instructors I have, or immersions, or all the other fun stuff, right? And the crazy thing is, the best thing about all of this is that for 6 months of ongoing mentorship of all of this, it's still cheaper than most boot camps. That's the crazy thing. So if they're interested, that's what I have to offer. It's basically every resource you need in order to achieve the lifestyle that you want to have.
That sounds very compelling. Maybe you can give us some, where can people reach you if they want to find out more about all this?
So my website is modernflirting.com. The best bet, I'm going to tell you, so you can message or you can email me at psych, P-S-Y-C-H, psych at modernflirting.com. I answer every email. Maybe give me some time, but I will answer every single email personally. Probably one of the best ways, though, if you want to be on top of my stuff, is my Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram is Modern Flirting. My Facebook is Jared Psych Laurence, Laurence, Jared Psych Laurence. And you can just message me directly on Facebook, and I'll tell you what, I'll do your listeners one better. If they email me or message me on Facebook or any platform, not only will I give them a free copy of my book, The Psychology of Modern Flirting, I'll even sit down with them and do a one-on-one call and answer any questions that they have, as long as they say that they heard it from Cliff. If you just say the word Cliff, you get a free call with me and a free book.
That's very kind of you and generous, and I hope those listening to this will take advantage of it and hopefully benefit from your experience and your mentoring.
Yeah, glad to help.
I want to, I guess, thank you for taking the time with me tonight. I think we had a pretty good conversation, and I think that you shared some good information for guys, and I think a lot of them are going to be interested to learn more from you.
I hope so, and glad to do this again sometime soon, hopefully.
Sounds great. All right. Talk to you soon.
You too.
I think I stopped it now. I'm not sure about that.